You know, most people think you need hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars to live off the grid. But what if I told you that with less than 20 bucks, I managed to cobble together a power system that actually works? Not in theory, not just a YouTube stunt, real, usable electricity, all for less than the cost of a pizza. Sounds impossible, right? But I'm not here to hype up a miracle solution or make it look glamorous. This is Boring Economic Update, and today I'm going to give you the most unfiltered step-by-step rundown of how I built a working off-grid power setup for under $20. If this sounds even a little intriguing, hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss the kind of realistic, no-nonsense takes you only find here. So here's how it all started. Not in a remote cabin, not on some reality show, but right in my city apartment on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Maybe it was boredom, maybe it was curiosity, or maybe, I'll admit, a little frustration after the last power outage left me staring at my useless phone and dead flashlight. I knew there had to be a way to keep at least my smallest devices alive without plugging into the grid or shelling out for a fancy solar kit. I started searching online for ideas, but everything seemed to spiral into either complicated electrical engineering or expensive products. 15 minutes in, I felt like I was back in a high school physics class that I barely passed. But then I remembered something from my student days in college, how we'd cobble together weird little science projects from whatever we could find. I realized that a real off-grid power solution for emergencies didn't have to mean solar arrays and deep cycle batteries. It could be simple. It just needed to work. The challenge now was to keep costs absolutely rock bottom. $20, that was the upper limit. No cheating, no spare parts from previous projects, just things anyone, anywhere could get for cheap. I started making a list of devices I actually needed to power. Not my laptop or a space heater, no illusions there. Just something to keep a phone alive during an outage, maybe power a radio or run a tiny LED lamp. That's all. Basic survival in modern times. With my target in hand, I headed out. First stop, the local dollar store. Most people think cheap stores just have snacks, party hats, and cleaning supplies, but look closely and you can find surprising treasures. I found a small, hand-cranked flashlight radio combo for $5. It even had a USB output. I tested it in the aisle. Turns out it was weak, but it actually delivered a trickle charge to my phone. Not fast, but in an emergency. Even a little power makes a difference. I was $5 down, but already had a way to generate a little electricity without any sunlight, fuel, or fancy gear. Still, cranking a radio for half an hour just to get a few minutes of phone life wasn't ideal. I needed a way to store power. My next idea was to look for rechargeable batteries. The same dollar store had a pack of 4 AA nickel metal hydride batteries for $3.50. I grabbed those. Now, most devices you want to use in emergencies, think portable radios, cheap fans, even some LED lights, actually take AA or AAA batteries. That meant I'd be able to swap cells between gadgets if it came to it, and if I could recharge them, my power supply would suddenly be way more flexible. That's when things got interesting. And what about a solar charger? Real panels cost a lot, but as I browsed a clearance bin at a hardware store, I found a small solar garden light for $4. This was pure luck. I opened it up right in the parking lot and saw its tiny solar panel plus a rechargeable cell inside. Garden lights are designed to run all night on just a few hours of sunlight, so I figured, what if I could hack it? 10 minutes later, I was home taking it apart. It was simple. Solar panel, basic charging circuit, and the battery. If I could reroute the battery to a more useful output, I might be able to make a low-cost charger for my AA batteries. But even better, these garden lights are everywhere. Almost every home improvement store, dollar store, and supermarket sells them, especially at the end of summer. After testing, I found that I could link a second one in parallel to double the current, and with a little soldering and some trial and error, I could charge not just the little cell inside, but also my new AA rechargeable pack. I spent another $4 on a second light and $3 on a pack of wires and cheap solder. All in, I was just under $20 and had a complete system. Hand crank for when the sun is down, solar charging AA batteries during the day, and some built-in LED lights for free. All this may not sound like a Hollywood-worthy science project, but the first time I got my phone to beep awake from dead, just from these cobbled parts, I'll admit it felt like a weird little victory. The setup wasn't pretty, it wasn't fast, but I could keep in touch, get news on the radio, and see in the dark, all without a single plug from the grid. And all for under $20. If you're still with me, you probably have 1,000 questions running through your mind, just like I did after getting the first sign of life from my phone with my new off-grid rig. What about the real numbers? How long does it take to charge a phone with a hand crank or a hacked solar light? How reliable are these dollar store treasures? Is this just a feel-good project? Or could it actually keep you going in a power emergency? Trust me, I didn't let any of those questions slide. And frankly, the only way to figure them out was to put everything to the test. No shortcuts, and no skipping the boring parts. So Let's talk about exactly what happened and how this system fared in the real world. First, I decided to try everything separately and together. The hand-cranked flashlight radio combo was the lowest tech part of the system, and the most immediately satisfying. There's something old school and reassuring about cranking a handle and hearing static come to life on a radio speaker. With a steady but slow turn, I could bring the radio to life almost instantly, which was honestly more useful than I expected. But charging a phone, that was another story. I plugged in my phone using the built-in USB output, turned off airplane mode, and started cranking. About 5 minutes of steady winding got me only about 1% more battery on my phone. My arm was already complaining. But I realized that in a pinch, when there's no other option, that trickle of power just might be enough to get a critical text out, call for help, or get an important map. It's not the answer to all-day power, but it is better than being totally stuck, a kind of safety net for next to nothing. Next, I went to the solar garden lights. These always seemed a bit too good to be true, but I've got to say, with a few tweaks and some patience, they delivered. The first time I set up both lights in parallel on my window ledge, hooked up my hacked-together wires to the AA battery holder and checked the voltage, I saw a slow climb in the charge. It was the kind of slow that teaches patience. Over the course of a sunny afternoon, I could bring a set of AA batteries from dead to about half charged. With 2 garden lights working together, output was reliably doubled. It wasn't exactly running a refrigerator, but for the price and simplicity, it was hard to argue with free sunlight trickling into those batteries with no noise, no moving parts, and nothing to break except maybe the wires if I got clumsy. With these half-charged AA batteries, I rotated them through my gear. I put them in a radio, a small fan, and a portable LED lamp. All of them survived a night with at least a few hours of use. The radio ran quietly for more than 4 hours. The fan was weaker, but moved enough air to make a difference, and the lamp stayed bright until bedtime. Now, if I was out camping or cut off from the grid for longer, this would feel like a game changer. But charging my phone? That still bugged me. My phone, like most modern ones, needs at least 5 volts to charge reliably. A couple of AA batteries wired together only gets you to 3 volts before losses, so I was stuck until another dollar store walk turned up a surprise. I found a little USB emergency charger, the kind powered by AA batteries, for $3. This device is meant for quick boosts, not full charges, but it let me tap those garden light charged AA batteries directly into my phone. It wasn't efficient, and it sure wasn't fast, but after a sunny day and a little hackery, I could scrape together enough juice to get my phone up another 4 to 6%. In an outage, even a couple texts or a call can be everything. Adding just this one piece to the system felt surprisingly meaningful, and it didn't push me over that $20 line. Through these weeks of testing, 2 things became clear. First, it's absolutely possible to rig up a small off-grid power system with less than $20, as long as you think carefully and set realistic expectations. Second, the secret is flexibility, not brute force. Don't try to do everything at once. Go for the small wins, keeping an LED lamp shining, getting a radio signal, reviving your phone just enough to communicate. If you picture some magical moment of flipping a switch and powering your whole life, you'll be disappointed. But as a backup, as a psychological boost in a dark room, as a step away from total dependence on the grid, this setup actually worked. As I kept tweaking, I noticed something else about the economics of this project. Each piece served more than one job. The hand-cranked device wasn't just a charger, but a flashlight and radio. The solar lights provided light at night by design, but once hacked, also charged my batteries for other gadgets. The AA battery charger ran the small fan, or powered the radio, and could also give my phone a little wake-up. Suddenly, each dollar I spent was working harder, and the system grew more versatile without costing a cent more. By week 3, I realized something else. Reliability matters far more than raw output in a crisis. After several cloudy days, my solar setups slowed to a crawl, but the hand crank still worked, and I always had at least some light or radio. If one piece failed, backup options existed. It wasn't luxury, but it was security. I experimented with moving the garden lights to different windows, tweaking angles, and swapping batteries more often. Tiny changes made real differences over time. I even tried using a cheap USB reading lamp, which ran just fine straight from the AA-powered USB charger. All the while, not one piece of the system cost over $5. Not one relied on complicated parts, tricky soldering, or hard-to-find hardware. For every improvement I thought of that would break my $20 limit, I wrote it down for another project and stuck to the rules. Simple, cheap, available anywhere. Looking at the system after a month, I saw how much farther it could go. Add another solar garden light or 2, brighter LED bulbs, maybe hunt down a tiny 12 Vive fan. But keeping the spirit of the original challenge kept me honest. This had to be rigged by anyone in just about any town, with whatever was available in a local store and a bill or 2 in their wallet. The practical power output might be small, but the feeling of independence, even if just a little, was absolutely worth the experiment. By now, I'd found a balance between patience, available materials, and a surprisingly useful result. As the weeks passed and my off-grid power setup kept chugging along, I found myself rethinking what energy independence really means. It's not about running a microwave or cooling down with an air conditioner in a blackout. It's a lot less flashy, but maybe that's the point. The peace of mind that came from knowing I could always make enough light to see by, enough radio power to get the news, and just enough juice to call home was so much greater than the sum of these $9 gadgets and $6 lights. On paper, the numbers are small, 1% on a phone, a couple of LEDs gleaming in the dark, but when the grid goes down, those little numbers matter more than you'd ever guess. Living with this setup day to day meant I started paying attention to the whole rhythm of my power needs. Sunlight hours suddenly mattered. I'd place my 2 hacked garden solar lights on the windowsill early in the day, hoping for the best weather. Even a few hours of good sun would make a big difference in how much I could store up for the night. If rain was forecast, I'd fall back on the hand crank and grit my teeth, winding while podcasts played in the background. The routine was almost meditative, and suddenly I realized why off-grid living appeals to so many people, even when the output is low and the payoff is just enough. Every once in a while, I'd wonder if there was any way to stretch the system even further while sticking to the same budget. Could you do it with even less? Maybe. A bit of research showed you could get USB-powered LED strings for parties that run for hours off a single AA battery, especially if you use rechargeables charged in the sun. I used my same emergency AA USB power bank to run one of these for several nights. The versatility of the system just kept improving as I learned how to make every component do double duty. The total didn't tip over $20, and most pieces were portable enough to fit in a backpack. The real breakthrough was less about the equipment and more about the mindset. Once you accept that you're not going to light up your whole house or work through the night on a laptop from the sun through a dollar store panel, the challenge becomes a creative one. Could I stretch this phone's standby time? Could I run cheap fairy lights through 2 rainy evenings instead of 1? Could I repurpose anything else I found lying around? I ended up swapping stories with other hobbyists, some who preferred solar phone chargers, some who went all in on hand-cranked radios, others who built elaborate systems for a few bucks more but were fascinated by the minimalist angle of my project. Curiosity kept the project alive longer than I thought it would. I started tracking exactly how long devices would last on various charges, how fast the solar batteries gained power on cloudy days, even which window had the best afternoon sun. I learned, through trial and error, that one light could charge twice as fast as another just because its panel was angled a few degrees better. More than once, I'd discover a panel had slipped and was hiding in shade, wasting a whole day. Every small victory felt more satisfying because there was nothing automatic or guaranteed. The reliability question, which had seemed trivial at first, kept proving itself in new ways. I started noticing what broke down first, what survived drops, what handled temperature swings. A few of the ultra-cheap AA batteries wore out after heavy use, but replacements were only a couple bucks, still keeping me within budget. In a power outage, there's no tech support line to call, so every time I had to jury-rig a connection, patch a loose wire, or swap in a backup battery, I was learning something most people overlook in a world where we trust convenience above all. I found myself double-checking what really mattered and leaving flashy upgrades on the shelf. I finally put my system to the ultimate test one weekend, intentionally unplugging from the grid for a full 48 hours. My phone was down to 15%, and I let it run dry to simulate a real blackout. The first night, my solar-charged batteries powered a small USB fan and kept my radio on. My hand-crank device brought the radio back to life in the morning. When I needed to check in with a friend, the solar-charged AA batteries via the USB gadget revived my phone enough to get a text through. I read by a string of party LEDs and drank instant coffee warmed by time and patience, not electricity. No, it wasn't luxury, but that was never the promise. It was enough. That's the magic of low-budget, off-grid power. You start seeing enough as a win instead of a compromise. Each piece in my little system, for all its thrift shop appearance, treated me to reliability the grid failed to offer more than once in the last year. During storms, summer rolling blackouts, or just a lazy camping trip, knowing I had options, however modest, was what mattered most. Maybe that's the lesson the big energy companies don't talk about. Independence is built on options, not on size or expense. And thinking back, if you'd told me a rainy afternoon's boredom and 20 wrinkled dollars would turn into a working, flexible off-grid power supply, I probably would have laughed. But the longer I tested and lived with the setup, the more convinced I became that most folks can get a taste of off-grid security without a major investment. It's not about escaping the grid forever or making a dramatic survivalist move. It's about buying yourself a day, a night, or even just the peace of knowing you aren't stuck in the dark for good. So if you've ever felt powerless in a blackout, remember, you don't have to solve every problem with a huge budget or fancy gear. Sometimes, just starting with what you have, being a little stubborn and getting creative is enough to light the way. And if you ever wondered about the economics of this kind of project, here's the real story. The cost isn't just in dollars, it's in time, in learning, in figuring out exactly what little bit of energy is most valuable to you the moment you lose it. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever built, hacked, or improvised your own backup power system, no matter how small or scrappy? What's the most creative off-grid solution you've ever seen or tried? Or maybe you've got questions about how to stretch $20 in your own home for emergency power. Drop your stories and ideas down in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going and help each other get just a little closer to true energy independence. And if you think someone you know would be inspired by a project like this, share this video with them. You never know when a rainy afternoon and a $20 bill might spark their own experiment. Thanks for sticking with Boring Economic Update, or where the numbers might look small, but the impact can be downright electrifying. See you next time.